Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's try to understand what are the top DevOps and cloud certifications that are available in the market. If you are interested in doing certifications, whether it can be for your personal learning or it can be for your client requirements, this video is going to provide you a very clear insight. Also, towards the end of this video, I'm going to share my personal opinion on certifications, and also from my experience, I will share how much these certifications are going to impact your resume. So please watch this video till the end. Let's get started with the video. And the first one that I have on my list today is AWS Cloud Practitioner. So this certification does not need any prerequisites, or you don't need to have a real-time past working experience on AWS. There are a lot of courses out there. You can also follow our AWS Zero to Hero playlist and easily clear the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification. All that you need to do is spend 1 good month on learning AWS theoretically and doing some hands-on on the AWS services that are used by DevOps engineers. Again, if you want to know the list of services that are used by DevOps engineers, you can take a look at our AWS Zero to Hero playlist. So AWS Cloud Practitioner is a very easy certification if you are an AWS DevOps aspirant. The second one that I have on my list today is AWS Solutions Architect Associate. So this is not an easy certification. So this certification needs some good practical hands-on experience on AWS. So if you have past working experience on AWS, it will really help. If you don't have, then I'll highly recommend you to please take a couple of months before giving this certification, because this certification requires thorough understanding of AWS networking, storage services, serverless, container services, and much more. So again, these services are available on our AWS Zero to Hero playlist, but not just theoretical part. Like I told you, to clear AWS Solution Architect Associate, you need some very good hands-on experience on the AWS services, because a lot of questions are interrelated. That is, there are a lot of questions that are asked between the connectivity of services. And there is some in-depth questions that are also asked. So if you want a roadmap on how to clear AWS Solutions Architect Associate, so I'll paste the link in the description where I have shared my personal experience on how did I clear AWS Solutions Architect Associate certification. So this is about AWS. If you are a Azure aspirant, or if you have been learning Azure, then there are 3 certifications. Number one on the list today is AZ900. So AZ900 is basically Azure Fundamentals certification. So this certification is again similar to AWS Cloud Practitioner. So I would say relatively this is easy to clear, and this should be the first one that you should target if you are interested in doing any Azure certifications. There is no prerequisites, or you don't need to have any past experience on Azure to clear this certification. You can go through any Udemy courses, or you can also go through Azure documentation, spend some time understanding the theory and doing little hands-on experience on Azure. So that will get you to clear the AZ900 certification. The next certification is little difficult, which is AZ014. So this certification is for the Azure administrators. So Azure Administrator certificate is little difficult, because if you do AZ900, it becomes little easy. But if not for AZ900, the AZ014 becomes little tricky, because as an administrator, you will be asked questions about managing Azure accounts. And also there are questions in depth about the Azure services. You can be asked questions about the cost optimizations. So a lot of these things. Then the next thing is AZ400. So AZ400 is Azure DevOps Specialist or Expert. So this certification is, you can compare it similar to AWS Solution Architect Associate. or even slightly difficult to that, because this require a thorough hands-on experience on the Azure platform. I would highly recommend taking 2 to 3 months before you give the exam. So you need to understand the theory part, do the practicals, and you should be also in a stage to derive solutions. You should be in a stage to design architectures. Before you do AZ 400, I'll highly recommend you to do the previous two Azure certifications. There is also a requirement that before giving AZ 400, you need to complete this certification. So I'll put that in the description, explaining you the dependency for AZ 400. So this is about Azure. Again, I'll not recommend you to do both AWS and Azure certifications at the same time. So if you're planning for both of these certifications, take good amount of time. You can initially start with AWS or Azure, but even if you do one of these things, that's totally fine. So that you are more focused on one cloud platform. Then if you move towards the other important certifications, so the Kubernetes certifications are also very much in demand. I see a lot of people doing Kubernetes certifications, and also the growing trend is people doing CKA, CKAD, and CKS. Let's talk about these things. So number one in the Kubernetes certifications list is CKA, which is Certified Kubernetes Administrator. So CKA requires good hands-on experience on Kubernetes. These certifications are little different from the other certifications that you see in the market, because Kubernetes certifications are tricky in terms of time. You will be asked to perform practicals during the certification, and you should be good with the Kubernetes cheat sheet. That means you should have real good experience with the kubectl commands, and you should be able to create some shortcuts. You should understand how to parse the Kubernetes, let's say pod definition, or you are given with a service definition. You should be in a stage you use the kubectl commands to retrieve a particular element or a field from this definitions. So you should be using the JSON parsing using the kubectl commands. Not just that, you should be very quick with this kubectl commands, because there is a time constraint for this certification and there are a lot of questions. So CKA is the first one that you start with. And if you want to clear CKA, you can start with our Kubernetes playlist. So there is a Kubernetes playlist, that link will be provided in the description, or you can search for Kubernetes playlist on the channel. The next one is CKAD, which is CKAD. The thing with CKAD is this is more for developers, but as a DevOps engineers, you more or less interact with DevOps engineers, and the topic covered in the CKAD becomes very easy if you do CKA. So CKAD can be compared as little more advanced to CKA, but people who clear CKA by spending 15-20 days, I personally feel, can clear CKAD. So CKAD is the next one on my list. And the other Kubernetes certification that I have is CKS. This is Certified Kubernetes Security Specialist. Here, more questions are asked with respect to Kubernetes security. That is, how do you benchmark your Kubernetes metrics? Or there are questions which are related to the admission controllers, webhooks in Kubernetes. And Kubernetes security certification, which is CKS, is the most complicated amongst the CK star certifications, because you need to have not just working experience on Kubernetes, but you should also think from the security point of view. And for doing CKS, CKA is mandatory. You should complete CKA before you perform CKS. That is, even before you apply for CKS, CKA is mandatory. And CKS is the toughest amongst all of these CK star, that is all the Kubernetes certifications. This is my personal opinion. And then there is one more certification which is quite trending, that is Terraform Associate. So the Terraform Associate certification is related to Terraform, which is also called Terraform 003, and it is relatively easy to clear compared to all of these certifications. So you can start with learning Terraform. I will share my Terraform Zero to Hero playlist. And if you complete the Terraform Zero to Hero playlist by learning more details about the Terraform Associate certification, you can easily clear that. So Terraform certification is the next one on my list. So these are the certifications that I have. These are the top certifications according to me. Of course, there are a lot of more certifications in the field of DevOps. You can do Red Hat certifications for certifying or showing yourself as a Linux expert. There are a lot of Red Hat certifications. And also there are a lot of certifications related to Ansible. There is certification for CI/CD. So there are a lot of certifications in the space, but these are the top 9 certifications that I have on my list today. Now talking about my personal opinion on these certifications. Personally, in the field of DevOps and cloud, the certifications are not mandatory for you to sit in an interview. So always I keep saying there are two parts. One is good to have and other is must have. So certifications are not must have and they never fall into that category. There are some streams where certifications are mandatory. For example, in the field of Salesforce, I see that certifications are quite important. But when we are talking about DevOps and cloud, it has not been mandatory, and even today, they are not mandatory. They are in the good to have category. That is, let's say there are two candidates who are appearing for the interview, and interviewers only want to interview one candidate. Probably in such cases, these certifications might come handy. But if you are in the category of career gap, or if you are in the category of switching from one stream to the other stream to showcase your expertise, of course, you will tell that you have learned it through some courses, and you might also show the certificate that is given by those courses. But these certifications from the official providers such as Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, or Terraform might help you if you have career gap or switching from a different stream. And apart from that, if you're a fresher, I don't think these certifications are that important because these certifications are also costly. All of the certifications that I've told you, you can check for the pricing, and definitely they are not super affordable. Probably for some people, they are affordable in the student career. But if you are a student, personally, I would say focus on theoretical and practical learning. If you are a working professional and if you can afford, definitely consider these certifications in the same order that I have mentioned. If you are in AWS space, start with the AWS certifications. If you are in the Azure space, start with Azure certifications. Then the Kubernetes certifications, finally the Terraform certification. That's all I have for today's video. And if you have any questions related to this topic, do let me know in the comment section and I'm ready to answer. Take care everyone. See you all in the next video. Bye bye.